Did you miss us? Because now we are back here, episode 3 of the Metaphor podcast. Today, we have a very interesting topic lined up. But to introduce myself, I'm your host, Michael.
And I'm your other host, Alex.
And today, we will be diving into a very, very highly requested topic within the Web3 space, one that you might actually be seeing in your news feed or on social media, maybe even some memes about it. We're here to talk about non-fungible tokens, also known as NFTs. Now, Alex, I know that you and I shared a very similar opinion whenever it came to NFTs prior to really learning about what they are, and that is that these things are jokes.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of hype and a lot of weird kind of buzz around NFTs last year. And I was kind of in the same boat where I thought it was a bit weird and it was kind of a joke, but once I was really able to kind of like learn more about it and kind of like the use cases of NFTs, I kind of realized, that these things can be kind of game changing in terms
Well, what
of.
was crazy is like the sales that were happening last year. I mean, there were projects that were generating, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. There were like single NFTs being sold for, $96 million, and upward. In fact, I want to say that one of the most expensive pieces of art ever sold was in the form of an NFT. I'll have to source that in the link or in the description below. But nonetheless, like there was all this craze, there was all this hype, and even now, like NFTs are still they're still persisting, but they're not quite seem to have like maybe the meme stock, image that it had a year ago. But I will say I agree with Alex. After having learned about NFTs, doing my research, and working here at Liveplex, we have seen that NFTs come with all sorts of utility, and that these NFTs will be a vital part of supporting Web3, in the future to come, especially with it being very integrated within the metaverse. So here we're going to be talking to you guys about NFTs, but more specifically, we are going to be talking about just why NFTs are key to making the metaverse. In our previous episodes, we talked about what a metaverse was, how you can build a metaverse. We dipped our toes a little bit into like what NFTs are in the last episode, but now we're really going to tell you like how this kind of brings everything together and how you'll have a world with an economy. So Alex, like, you just want to start with a brief little description of like what an NFT is?
For sure. So for a quick little refresher, NFTs are essentially just tokens that exist on a blockchain. And they are really just used to prove ownership of a specific asset. And with that being said, NFTs come with a unique identification code so that you can really distinguish between what an original NFT or kind of like a replica to determine its value.
Yeah, exactly. And so like why that is like super important, and I know Alex said a lot of words here. The most important piece of like technology within NFTs is this what's called the blockchain. The blockchain is what we like to call the digital ledger, if you will. It is a place where you can store data and actually assign ownership, within the NFT, within the data that is being stored. And doing so allows you to actually have ownership over digital things that you may have not had before. So, if there's an image out there, like let's say you have a JPEG image of your profile picture, a selfie that you took, well, you don't necessarily own that image because anyone can go and screenshot it. But what makes an NFT distinctively different is that you can't just screenshot an NFT. The NFT is an asset in itself stored in the blockchain, and there is ways to verify that ownership. So anytime you hear someone say like, "Oh, I took a picture of your Bored Ape NFT," well, they may have a picture of it, right? But they don't own the NFT, and they don't own all the utility, or aren't able to use the utility that comes from running that NFT afterwards. And so kind of with that, like a lot of what you might be seeing as like NFT sold as art, but there's a lot more use cases out there regarding NFTs. And the one that we're here to really talk about is how this kind of is wrapped into the metaverse and how this will bring the metaverse to life in the future. So, just to kind of start out, last episode, we pretty much ended with saying like, we give you 4 steps to create your metaverse. And so after creating your world, there's a lot of things that have to go into, creating an economy, right? And NFTs are, what we'd say are pretty fundamental to that. Like, Alex, like what are some things that like metaverse worlds can do with NFTs to really kind of prove utility and that they're more than just like, pieces of art?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like we said earlier, NFTs are their own specific and unique assets. And with that, it allows kind of brands and other companies to kind of really monetize their own metaverse worlds. And kind of with NFTs, they're able to really like the purchases or transactions that kind of occur within a metaverse world or within like a digital economy, and kind of figure out who owns what, and kind of assign different assets to the correct owners of to whoever kind of purchase those assets. And
And just as like kind of an example of that too is like just as like in real life, if you purchase a car, there is a deed that comes with that, or there is licensing. You have to go to the driver's bureau and get your car, get all the proper paperwork. The same thing would exist in the metaverse, where all your purchases are essentially verified and tracked. So that way, no one can have the same assets as you. They have to, either buy them as an NFT or go through the same process as you would have to have versus just screenshotting stuff. Another big thing too is as we talked about previously in the metaverse, and one big problem people in the metaverse are trying to solve right now is this problem with interoperability. If you have an avatar, does it translate to all the other worlds? Well, what NFTs are like going to soon be able to do, and this was going to create a whole new creator economy on its own outside of like apparel brands like Nike and stuff, is that NFTs can be used to actually dress your avatar, right? So just as you own an entire closet of apparel, you'll be able to own an entire wallet of wardrobe NFTs that'll be used for your avatar in the metaverse. And this is what's really going to kind of set apart the metaverse from video games, because in video games there's these like pre-made skins and there's not a whole lot of like variability. Maybe in some you can create your own, like Minecraft is an example of that, but most of them they're these skins that are already made. You have to buy. You don't even really own them, even though you bought them, right? It's essentially, you can almost think about it as if like you're renting it in a way. So
yeah,
that's one impact. Alex, were you about to add?
yeah, and like kind of adding on to that, like there really isn't any unique qualities about the already kind of pre-created skins within video games, and that's another sort of interesting thing or intrinsic value that NFTs add to kind of connecting the metaverse to like a real sort of tangible asset, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And what brands are doing a lot right now are they're using NFTs as a way to extend themselves to the community in a more personalized and unique way. So, for example, I always like to use a music festival like as an example. A lot of collectible items before were different music festival T-shirts or any posters that would come from it, maybe any merch that was there. But now what a lot of music festivals can do, and what some are even doing, is they're offering a commemorative NFT, for that event. You know, Different from like an image, the NFT, they're limited in supply, right? Anyone who decided to mint that NFT and put it in their wallet can have it. But then this NFT can, just like a collector's poster could be, this NFT can then actually be put on a secondary market, and someone could own it digitally as well. You might be thinking to yourself like, there's no real reason for me to own that now, but years from now, whenever the metaverse is developing, your digital assets, your digital, like let's say clout, is very much going to exist, and there's going to be all these secondary markets for these digital assets that were minted and created. But on top of that, it's a really great way for brands to kind of be unique or like reach out on an individual level, like with their audience. Another great example that we like to talk about is Nike. So Nike is doing a program right now where for if you design a custom pair of shoes on their website, you actually get a digital NFT of those pairs of shoes as well, and you get the real life pair of shoes sent to your house. You can imagine if you have an avatar, this would be great to put on your avatar in the metaverse. And then here at Liveplex, I mean, we use NFTs all the time in the different projects we do. We create these tokenized economies and communities for brands so that they can achieve just that. As we were saying, being able to reach out to their fans, reach out to their customers on a personalized level. We've worked, extensively, like in the media and entertainment industry, as a great use case. And what we like to do is, if there's an artist or a brand that's looking to maybe support the more loyal fans that they have, the ones that have been there since day one. We found that these NFT projects have been pretty big hit for not only increasing revenue streams within the artists themselves, and as you can imagine in media and entertainment, there's a lot of mediaries, middlemen that go within that, but this is going directly to the artist. That fans actually highly engaged with this, and they just love being a part of a fan community. So that in a nutshell is kind of NFTs, as well as that, like there's different things such as like property ownership that we were talking about. Whenever it comes to like virtual lands or any of your assets, I truly think that this is the future of the metaverse. Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. Kind of like we mentioned earlier, there's always been sort of a difficulty surrounding, you know, royalties and kind of like proprietary, kind of like giving people the correct amount or compensating people correctly based on their proprietary data online and kind of the things that they create. And with NFTs, this is really just a great solution to that. It really allows people to take ownership over the things that they create and to really sort of be compensated and kind of reap the rewards and benefits of creating that artwork or music or any of the above.
No, I totally agree. And like, for those of you that might be thinking like, how is Web3 any different from Web2? What NFTs are allowing people to do now is essentially take ownership over some of the things that they may want to own digitally. Earlier I was talking about like skins in a video game and stuff, but it could be anything as far as like a picture that you have out there, maybe a document. Maybe you were playing a video game, right, and you had an insane trick shot that happened in that game, and you want to own that moment because you are one of 5 people in the entire world that have been able to land that trick shot. Like, the use cases are infinite, but what this is allowing you to do is actually be able to take that from the company or the brand that owns those experiences or owns those assets, and be able to transfer that ownership to yourself. And that's a pretty big deal because what NFTs really allow to do, as well as like for original artists to benefit from secondary sales. So if imagine you are an artist and you sell a painting to a museum, and then that museum then goes and sells it to a collector, and over the course of history, this painting has gone through 10 different hands. The original artist does not see any of the secondary sales, right? Not even any royalties or nothing. But what NFTs allow is to track that original ownership and in what's called a smart contract. Smart contract is like what happens kind of behind the scenes, has some code, it executes and kind of defines like what the NFT is. The smart contract can allow for the original artist to still make profits, to still make royalties off of the art they made, even though they themselves are not the ones selling the art. So you can imagine this would have a profound impact and change, on the entire world. George Lucas could very be the richest person alive, if you
Yeah.
think about all the Star Wars merch and franchisings that have happened.
And even kind of like taking a step back, like NFTs, not only do they really help with the payments and kind of understand like the royalties issues involved with kind of internet and Web3 or Web2 stuff, but it also will just help facilitate kind of the metaverses, different communities within the metaverses, and just create greater social experiences. It'll be able to kind of band people together just by seeing that, oh, this person owns this NFT, and you can kind of it's honestly almost more of like a networking opportunity as well, just by these NFTs, they're able to create different communities within different industries and just band a lot of different people together
Yeah. Yeah,
that
exactly. Like,
normally wouldn't be able
NFTs can
to.
be a form of credentialing. One product that we have here at Liveplex and that, we've been piloting is having your credentials, come in the form of an NFT, especially if, let's say, these are educational credentials. One thing at Liveplex is we have the Metaversity as one area that we're working on within education. And, we truly believe that, having these credentials in the blockchain will not only make you more of a credible candidate whenever you're applying for jobs, but even for like things such as like grad schools or just transcript verification, job experience verification. There are a lot of time, there is a lot of gray area with LinkedIn or with handing a resume in to an employer, where essentially unless there's like an extensive background check that is done, it's very hard to verify whether any of that information is actually true. Through our product and through the blockchain, it's very, very easy. It's actually just a few lines of code. So kind of with that, truly like NFTs, like we listed maybe we scratched the tip of the iceberg here in this podcast. So we highly recommend for you to continue reading up on NFTs. Watch any of our old videos. Episode 1 and 2 were kind of getting you introduced to the metaverse. So if any of this metaverse talk is kind of going over your head right now, go back to the original videos. Very good brief introductions on what those are. Stay tuned with Liveplex. It's liveplex.io. We're always updating our website with new products. You can find us on LinkedIn where we content right. We put lots of articles out that are really relevant to the Web3 space. And of course, stay tuned next week stay tuned next week, and we will be giving you episode 4 of the Metaphor podcast.
Yep. Catch you guys later.